Hi, I'm Floyd,
And I'm Felix.
and we're the creators of Gadzooks and the Cryptoid Kids. Gadzooks and the Cryptoid Kids is a cartoon about a cartoon. It's a cartoon about a mad scientist named Gadzooks realizing he's a villain from sort of a Saturday morning episodic kids cartoon and vowing to do something about it because, being a villain from that type of cartoon, especially a comic relief villain, that is a life of failure. He's never going to get what he wants, no matter how hard he tries. He's always running in circles, always being disappointed, and always being squashed, smashed, punched, electrocuted, etc. So he really wants to sort of break free from this life, confront fate, and do something about it.
I'm a good boy, yet I relate. Okay, a little bit of a naughty boy.
The idea really came from the types of cartoons I watched growing up. I was a huge cartoon fan as a kid. I would watch them in the morning, go to school, come home, and then watch them again when I got home. I probably watched too many because I would even watch ones that I didn't really like that much, but this was the early 2000s, which really was a formative time for me when it came to animation, and really influenced my sense of what I liked in this sort of storytelling format. And what really stuck with me is that there would always be these comic relief villain types, and I remember that they were always my favorite. Even in the late 90s when I was really young, I remember this trope sort of emerging and me just really liking these characters. I remember recording the Fun song and putting it on a CD because I was obsessed with it and I really liked Plankton. Plankton was my favorite SpongeBob character and I was about 9 at the time.
Making the rest of the cast, I was really influenced by shows like Teen Titans or the Powerpuff Girls. There's a little bit of Bowser in what with being a giant among his own species and other things.
Oh, it was characters in both cartoons and video games, actually. I was super into Paper Mario. It was my favorite game franchise at the time, and the humor there really influenced me. But I was also really into Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, for example, even though that was a little bit later. I think that still counts. But there were always these funny scientist guys who I paid sort of a particular type of attention to. So I really wanted to make a cartoon where I just took this type of guy, who I was really into as a kid, and who I think I connected to on some level, and just make a cartoon that took the camera, put it on that guy, and said, okay, we're going to make you the main character, and hopefully we're going to make you the type of character that people can relate to and sympathize with to an extent as well.
It's great because in a lot of shows the hardcore fans, and sometimes even the animators, end up craving a little bit more of these little weird side characters. So we can just do that for ourselves instead.
We came up with the idea around 2019, so it has been cooking for a while, and we really do have a fair bit of the idea fleshed out, including basically a full plot and a lot of specific episodes, a lot of character arcs and that sort of thing. There are a bunch of other characters that haven't even seen the light of day, but we have basically completed concepts for. We really know what we want to do with a full series, but of course we're just starting with a pilot because that's what's feasible, but if we did well, maybe there could be more.
We've had to learn the hard way that taking one step at a time and asking for help when we need it is the best thing we can do for the project. After all, we've animated a lot of the pilot already ourselves, and let me tell you, it's fun, but it's also hard, on the mind and on the body. We hope to tell you more about how we've accomplished this real soon.
We're actually transitioning into animation from a previous background of making underground LGBT comics. We used to make indie comics with queer themes and characters, and we go to a lot of venues and that sort of thing. And that really informs us as artists, so some of the vibes might be present here, and of course, we're keeping the LGBT characters because that's something very close to us and very important, I think, to keep as a theme central to our storytelling.
In case you guys didn't know, we're husbands who make cartoons together. So this really goes as deep as how we fell in love, really. It's that important to us. And everyone that has ever bought one of our comics in the past or that's supporting our animated project in the present is also really special to us in that they help make our dreams come true, both as artists and as that queer kid who wanted someone in fiction to look up to or to learn from.
We always thought it was sort of unfair that villains in cartoons are like oftentimes gay or queer coded, but rarely ever like humanized and given the chance to analyze, approach, or tackle their feelings and emotions. It's always just sort of treated as a joke, you know. The minion is arguably in love with the main villain, he obviously deserves it, and it's sort of this eternal punishment for him because the main villain doesn't return the feelings and is usually like even a source of torment for the henchman. So here we're giving that guy a chance to speak for himself, and it's going to be a little bit different, I think, than what you're usually expecting from a relationship like that. Next thing I wanted to do was talk a little bit about the sci-fi aesthetic of Gadzooks and the Cryptoid kids. What I really wanted to do was to sort of tap into the nostalgic aspect of sci-fi cartoons and cartoon art that was around a lot in the 90s and early 2000s. So we've got the ray guns, the UFOs, the planets that are all Saturn. So what I'm really saying is that at the turn of the century, that kind of thing was everywhere, and I think Gadzooks is sort of a love letter to that as well.
It was more of a dinosaur kid. I'm pleased to say that I've made a whole army of space dinos for this one. Thanks for listening, and if you want to know more and to support the project, please don't forget to like and subscribe and take a look at our Kickstarter's pre-launch.